starting to join now. In few minutes, devotees will join.
Okay. When do we start?
Yeah, we can start. You can start
Now?
You can start some invocation, and then I will just give some brief introduction of yours, and then we can start.
So you're going to do a brief.
Yeah, just to people to know. Many are new devotees, so already 11 devotees joined. I can I can briefly tell Prabhuji's introduction. Nimai Pandit Prabhu is one of the foremost disciple of Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj, and he is special because Gurudev has entrusted him to publish his biography, and also because he is preaching Gurudev's teachings throughout the world through Tattva Vichar publication, which is actually the lifelines of many devotees. So we are very grateful and obliged that Prabhu agreed to come again and give his association a glorification of Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj, so that we can get the benefits of associating with Gurudev through his disciple. So, Prabhuji, you may start.
Start?
Yes, you can start, Prabhu.
Okay. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Simati Govinda Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Boy Priya Gaura Bhava Prakashini Nityananda Kripa Sindhu Gopal Savadashini. So I'm just going through. I've written volume 4 of life story.
The devotee joining now is not unmuted. Please mute yourself, all the devotees.
So I've just written. I'm just going through. I've written volume 4 of the life story, and it's in 3 volumes. And I'm also going through volume 2, which we're going to do last, but I'm just going through it.
Not audible, Prabhu. We cannot hear you.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now it's okay. Yes.
Sorry. Okay. So I've written volume 4 of the life story. It's in 3 volumes. And we're starting to clear it up. And there's different stories coming up. And I put some here. And I'm also going through the information for volume 2, which we're going to do last. But I'm going to go through some of the stories just so you may know them, you may not know them, but some of the stories about Gurudev. So in 1977, there was a devotee named Abhinanda Das. And he worked with Gurudev, served Gurudev. He was a disciple of Prabhupada, and he served with Gurudev for 6 months. So he said they went to different towns and villages in Orissa and were doing kirtan and distributing books. And he said Guru Maharaj led the most amazing kirtans. So he said by 9 o'clock that night, they were ready to go to sleep. They were between 19 and 25 years of age, and they were exhausted. So they'd go to sleep on their torn mats and pull their wraps over themselves and go to sleep. But Gurudev didn't sleep. Oops, sorry. Gurudev didn't sleep. He, I'll just turn this off. Gurudev didn't sleep. He then pulled out his books and he started translating Prabhupada's books, Bhagavatam, etc., from English into Oriya. And he did that from 9 o'clock at night till about 4 in the morning. So he didn't sleep. And he did that, this Abhinanda says, did that for 6 months. No sleep. Think about that. And then he got up, took bath, they had Mangalati, then they'd do a program, he'd give a class, and then they would go out doing kirtan all day and distributing books. The next one story is about in 1985, there was one Nisringananda Das. He's our godbrother. And he was going to Abhaya Baba, the so-called sadhu in Orissa. You know him, yeah? You heard of him? He had some mystic powers. Anyway, he said to this Nisringananda, you should go and find Govinda Swami and you should take initiation from him. And this Nisringananda, he didn't even know who Gurudev was. So he had to ask around, where's this Govinda Swami? Where's the Nayapali village, except where's this temple being built? So he met Gurudev. Gurudev initiated him and gave him the name Nisringananda Das. But he didn't even know Gurudev existed, but this sadhu, or this Baba told him to go and he went. So then in 1986 on Ram Navami, Gurudev initiated in a place called Jamtari Bol. You know that Jamtari Bol? Yeah. You may most probably know these stories better than me. But anyway, this village literally in the middle of nowhere. And in 1983, 100 Sankirtan parties from various villages gathered in Kamakya Nagar, Orissa. Their aim was to find a genuine Vaishnava guru and establish a temple dedicated to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the father of Hari Sankirtan. After deliberation, they narrowed their choice to 5 prospective temple sites. By divine providence, they came to know that a true Vaishnava guru was residing in Bhubaneswar. Representing the larger group, a small delegation traveled to Bhubaneswar. They went to Gurudev and they explained that they had come to perform kirtan, seek a Vaishnava guru, and build a temple for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they presented to Gurudev the 5 different sites, proposed locations. And after review them, Gurudev said they should build a temple in the place called Jamtari Bol, even though he had never heard of that place or visited it in his whole life. Hello. So, and that Jamtari Bol was very extremely obscure, remote village, lacking roads, and the residents could not support a temple. Nevertheless, placing faith in the Vaishnava, where the Vaishnavas, these people went, the devotees went, built a temple, started worshipping Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Govinda Swami, and Gauni Tai. So one day, a group of villagers, they visited the ashram. Among them was an 85-year-old man who shared an extraordinary story. So it was 1986, he said, 70 years ago, which made it 1916, a naked sadhu came to that Jamtari Bol village. And the locals fed him prasad, they gave him somewhere to stay, and he gave a talk. Later that night, a villager went to offer some service to that sadhu, but he found him missing. And he was very alarmed. He was wondering, have we committed an offense? Where's this sadhu gone? So they sent out a team of boys to look for him. The next morning, before sunrise, the sadhu returned. The villagers asked, where did you go? And the sadhu replied, I went to that place where in the future thousands of sadhus will gather and a true Vaishnava will establish a temple here. He will initiate people and give pravachans. And the local said, that's just a crematorium site. It's very inauspicious. And that sadhu said, no. He said, when I went to sleep last night, I had a vision. This is a very sacred place, and that sadhu will come and he will establish a temple. That is why I went there. So he went there. So on Ram Navami Day 1986, one of the boys that was 15 years of age that went to look for that naked sadhu in 1916, he was now 85, came to Gurudev and he told this story. And he said, that you are that sadhu. You've initiated disciples here. You're giving pravachan and you've established a temple. And he said, now we can see how the prediction of this place has come true. And he paid full dandavats to Gurudev, and he had tears in his eyes, this man. He was 15 then, now he was 85, 70 years later. And Gurudev used to say, when I become old, I will go and live in that lonely place. I will go and live there. But Gurudev didn't become old. Gurudev left, as we all know, 1996. Dukkha Madhikona Dukkha Hoya Guru Tara Krishna Bhakti Viraha Vina Dukkha Nai Dekipara. Very, very sad affair. When we lose the association of these great sadhus. Right. So anyway, Jantari Bol, very auspicious place. And Gurudev built a temple there, gave pravachan, so many things. So then in 1987, my point for saying all this is because Gurudev was not a run-of-the-mill devotee. He was not a run-of-the-mill Swami or Guru or Sannyasina. He was light years ahead of all of us. His Harikatha was unparalleled. So in 1987, Gurudev went to Kishore Gopinath Temple with many of his senior men, Patit Pavan, Sachinandan, Kalakanta, so many devotees, senior devotees. And Gurudev started singing bhajans, quoted many slokas, and began speaking Harikatha. So the disciples of Gurudev, they went to the pujari at the Kishore Gopinath Temple, and they said, any prasad garlands? And the pujari said, we have no flowers. There's only one garlands for the deity. And the devotees were upset. They were like, we want a garland for Gurudev. Anyway, Gurudev kept speaking, and while he was speaking, the garland fell off the deity. So the devotees thought, he'll put it on Gurudev, but he didn't. He tied it back up and he put it back on the deity. So Gurudev was undisturbed by all these things. He didn't care if he had garlands. He didn't care if he had a cushion or a mat. He didn't care, right? So then he kept speaking and the garland fell off again. So the pujari picked it up, tied it up, put it back on the deity. So Gurudev kept speaking, and then the garland fell off a third time. So the pujari picked it up, tied it up, and then he said, I know this deity stole a pot of sweet rice for Sri Madhavendra Puri, right? And now I've seen that the second coming of Madhavendra Puri is come in Srila Gauravinda Swami. And this deity has stolen a garland for the second coming, Srila Gauravinda Swami. And he put the garland on Gurudev. So these are not normal events, right? These are not normal events. Now, what about the initiation of Braja? I think her name's Vilasini. In 1988, she went to Bhubaneswar to take initiation. And before she took initiation, and she was going to get married. So Gurudev was going to give her initiation, then marry her and a husband, or husband-to-be, and they go back to France. So prior to initiation, she went to Gurudev. She said, Gurudev, the doctor said, I'll never conceive, I'll never have children. Gurudev said, really? He said, okay. He said, go to the deities, pay dandavats, clap your hands 3 times, come back to, and then pay obeisances again, then come back and see me. So she did that. He initiated her. He married her to her husband. She went back to France. She had twin girls. Then again in 1998, there was a devotee, I think his name is Sharma Ganadas. I think he bought a book from the BBT, was Science of Self-Realization, I think. And out of that book, he'd made a poster of Prabhupada's picture and he was worshipping it. And he wanted a guru. And one night he had a dream and Prabhupada appeared to him and he said, if you want a guru, you have to go to Srila Gauravinda Swami. If you want a real guru. And he went and he took initiation. So this is Prabhupada appearing to devotees, telling them to take initiation from Guru Maharaj. Same thing happened in 1989. There was one, Mr. Kamini Mohan Patnaik. He met Prabhupada in 1977 and he was there in the hut. And he was listening. He said he's listening to Prabhupada speak, and he said it was so nice. And then he saw on Prabhupada's fingers that Prabhupada had some gold rings, and then he saw Prabhupada had some gold teeth, And he thought, he got all mental. He said it himself. He got all mental. He said, oh, no. He said, sadhus don't have gold teeth and gold rings. And he got up to leave. He thought, oh, I've got to go. And he was discombobulated. He was totally somewhere else. And so as he got up, Prabhupada said, give him prasadam. So he was given prasadam and he'd left. So it was 12 years later, he was still thinking, I need a guru. I left the association of Prabhupada. He was given that class. I left. I should have stayed, etc., etc., etc. And one night, Prabhupada appeared to him in a dream and said, if you want a bona fide guru, go to Nayapalli, go to ISKCON temple, meet Gogavinda Swami and take initiation from him. And he did it. And he met Gurudev, and Gurudev said yes. And Gurudev's line was, every time someone would go to him, Gurudev would say, please come to the class and associate here and listen. Because that's what you have to do. You have to hear the Harikatha, which I said last time, of powerful sadhus. It's no use listening to conditioned souls. I mean, you can listen to a conditioned soul as long as they're promoting the correct siddhanta. But ultimately, to clear the anarthas from the heart, to purify the heart, and to move forward on the path of bhakti, one must hear from powerful sadhus. Right? So then there's, in 1990, the story of Akinchana Das. Guru Maharaj read his mind. Akinchana Das was Indian, born in Malaysia, I think. And I think they moved to England, and he met Prabhupada in 1973, I think. So anyway, Akinchana joins, and he's Indian family, so he's got an Indian name at birth. Then he takes a guru, and that guru gives him initiation and changes his name, Western Guru, but that guru fell down. So then he took another guru, ISKCON Guru, Western Guru, and that guru fell down. So 2 gurus, 3 names. He was starting to get a bit worried. So then he met Gurudev, and he went to Bhubaneswar, and he understood, I have to take from this personality. And then he was starting to get worried because he said, I've had an Indian name at birth, a Sanskrit name at first initiation, he fell down. Sanskrit name, second initiation, he fell down. Second guru, this is my 3rd guru, my 4th name. He said to me, what will my family think? So he's very mental. He's really mental. He's told me he was very mental. And Gurudev, it was a day initiation, and Gurudev was walking back to the hut. And when Gurudev walked back to the hut, devotees were all around him asking questions, and Gurudev was speaking to them. And he was a little bit back. And he's just wondering, what am I going to do? I'm going to take initiation. I'm going to get a 4th name. And he's really embarrassed. And when I did the interview with him, he was laughing, but I think it was a nervous laugh, not a humorous laugh. Anyway, he was walking back from the crowd a little bit, and he hadn't told anyone. He definitely hadn't told Gurudev. And suddenly Gurudev turned around to him and said, Akinchana, don't worry, I'm not going to change your name. I'm going to leave it the same. And Akinchana breathed a sigh of relief. And this happened a lot of times. Gurudev read people's minds, just like when he was giving class, you would be formulating a question in your mind about the class. He'd look at you, answer the question as part of his class, and then you keep going. You didn't even have a chance for it to come out of your mouth. It couldn't materialize. He'd read your mind and answered the question. So in 1991, there's another story, Bhaktivedanta Manor. There was one Madhiji. It was the evening, and she was sitting at Prabhupada's murti at his feet chanting, and she was thinking, and no offense to Westerners whatsoever, but she was thinking, I need a guru, but I don't want a Western guru. I want an Indian guru, right? I want a powerful sadhu. So she's chanting around, she's not initiated, and she's thinking, I need a guru, I want a guru like this, I don't want a Western guru, etc., etc., etc. So it just so happened that she was there chanting, and she looked up, it was nighttime, right? She looked up, and there's Gurudev looking right at her, because Gurudev had just arrived from India, flown to England, landed at London airport. Devotees had picked him up. He'd come to the temple and was just about to give a class after evening aarti. And she got the shock of her life. Then the next morning she heard Gurudev speak. And when she heard him speak, she understood he really knows what he's speaking about. He's living it. He's living the Siddhanta. And devotees in France told me the same thing. They heard Gurudev and they understood, yeah, he's living it. He's not just memorized it from a book. He's living it. So this Mataji, I did an interview with her, and she said she heard one guru at Bhaktivedanta Mataji, who's a Westerner, and he ran out of things to say, and it was a 20-minute silence in the class. And she was like, it was very, what's the word, embarrassing for the speaker. Then she said another guru, he had his computer, and he was trying to find something in the computer, he couldn't find it, and the whole class was waiting for him to find this piece of information he wanted to present, and she was thinking, a guru with a computer? I don't think so. So that Mataji, she followed Guru Maharaj to Bhubaneswar, and she took initiation. And in 1994, that Mataji and her husband and the family, they were walking to the temple. They were living in Bhubaneswar. And on the way, there was a massive storm, so they took shelter under a shop. It was a massive lightning strike, hit the ground, bang. And the husband said to her, let's just go home when the rain stops. She says, no. She'd been buying mangoes for Gurudev regularly. She had mangoes she wanted to give them to him. So she got to so finally the rain stopped. They went to the temple. She gave the mangoes to Gurudev. Gurudev was sitting in the hut, outside on the veranda of the hut. And he went, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And then he said, I bless you that all your desires will be fulfilled. And the husband said, I hope they're spiritual. And Gurudev said, anyway, I bless you that all your desires will be fulfilled. And that I'd never seen Gurudev do that before. So that was the mango story. And Gurudev got his mangoes. So then, 1992, there was a fellow called Mr. DK. Mr. DK was like a congregational member. Right? He was a congregational member. And he would help with the temple and do things and whatever. So one day, Mr. DK decided he'd do a Reiki course. It's got nothing to do with us. Whatever, if you want to do a Reiki course, do a Reiki course. And then he became a Reiki master. And then what happened is he became a Reiki master. He became psychic, not to predict the future. He could tell you what you were thinking. And so the devotees tested him and they said, well, you know, different sannyasis would come and he'd say, what's he thinking about? And he'd say, well, he's thinking about prasadam, airline tickets, sense gratification. No, okay, what about this one, this sannyasi? He'd say same thing. So one day, a little old sannyasi came to a New Govardhan farm and he was shuffling along, holding on to his servant, and he had a cane in this hand. And the devotee said, what about him? What is he thinking? And Mr. DK said, I cannot understand what he's thinking. And he wrote it down, ACHARYALEELA. The devotee said, oh, Acharya Leela. He said, yes. And they explained what Acharya Leela was to him, that it's the function of the Acharya moving all over the world and preaching. And he said, yes, he's thinking of this Acharya Leela. He's thinking how we can deliver all the people on this mountain, because New Govardhan's on like a big hill. And he's been doing this Acharya Leela for lifetimes. And that little guru was our Gurudev Srila Govinda Swami. And this fellow was psychic and could see it. Do I need to speak any more to prove that His Divine Grace Govinda Swami is the great Paramahamsa Vaishnava? Do I need to keep going? Huh? Prabhuji?
Yes,
I mean,
yes, bro.
we should
Yes,
get it
bro.
from that. So in 1992, Gurudev went to Spain, right? He went to Europe and he went to Spain. And my godbrother Janardhan, is it Janardhan? Yeah, he's from Spain. Satchidananda accompanied Gurudev. And what happened was Spain had a drought for about 6 months, right? there was no rain coming. And Gurudev said Spain's a very simple place because they do bullfighting. They have a sport killing the bull. Bull's considered first count of the Bhagavatam. Cow is mother, bull is father, isn't it? So they've got a sport killing the bull. So Gurudev said naturally there's no electricity because it's all hydroelectricity, right? And it needs water and there's no rain for 6 months minimum. So on that night, Gurudev said, oh, I can see lightning in on the horizon. And the temple president said, yeah, it's been doing that for 6 months, but no rain. So Gurudev said, tomorrow we'll do Gora Kirtan and we'll make it rain. So that morning, Sachinandan said he couldn't believe it. He said, Gurudev started singing, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Deva Ratimati, and he started singing, and it rain just came down and it poured for 4 days, flooded. Gurudev stopped the drought and made it rain. It was pretty amazing. So, you can't do this as a conditioned soul. You just can't do it. And Lagudi told me one story, I think it was in the early 80s, no, late 70s, early 80s. It was Janmashtami, and he said the temple had no money, but Janmashtami was coming up. So Lagudi, does everyone know who Lagudi is? Yes? You know who Lagudi is? Yeah. So Lagudi made a list of 100 preparations for Janmashtami they could make, right? And Guru Maharaj went through the list and crossed them all out and left rice and dalma. And Guru said to Lagudi, there's not enough dalma, add more water. Boss, we got no money. So then in 1994, this is a funny story, but Gurudev said here in Orissa, in Bhubaneswar, in this place, if you eat a lot of fruit and you drink a lot of water afterwards, you get diarrhea. You get upset stomach and you get diarrhea. So there was a Bhakta Tom from Australia, wore glasses. He's sort of a smart guy, intellectual. So he thought he'd experiment. So he ate a lot of fruit, drank a lot of water, and got diarrhea for a long time. We didn't see him. He's always running to the toilet. So, Anyway, my last story I'll tell. There's a fellow called Premji. Premji was Indian body, but he was, I think, born in England, lived in England. And he was chanting 16 rounds, going to Mangalati, etc., etc., etc. And he was addicted. I don't think I've ever seen anyone that come to Gurudev that's that addicted to sense gratification. And he was a lost soul. He was totally lost. Anyway, he came to Bhubaneswar to get Gurudev's association. And he wrote a letter to Gurudev. This big letter, many pages, and I was Gurudev's secretary, so I had to read it out. And in the end, halfway through, Gurudev said, stop reading. Stop reading. And Gurudev sent him a message. And in those days, I used to record the message on cassette tapes and give it to the devotee, right? And then they could play it over and over again. So Gurudev said to this fellow, if you don't stop this activity, if you don't stop this nonsense, someone's going to come and kill you. You will be finished. Understand? So I gave the tape to Premji. And Premji was pretty mad. And he came to classes, and you'll hear in the classes, Gurudev hammers Premji continually. And I was talking to Premji one day. And believe it or not, I saw him and I saw the ghost that was in him. They were both looking at me. There's 2 people looking at me, him and the ghost. And I was like, Krishna. It's the first time I've ever seen that. But that ghost left him and he became, I guess, normal because Gurudev hammered him and hammered him and hammered him and hammered and became normal by Gurudev's preaching in the class to him every day. He'd pick him out and preach to him. So that's some of the glories of Gurudev. Gurudev's glory is unlimited. I was talking to Janeshwar and I said to him, everyone know Janeshwar Prabhu? And I said, the life story, this volume we're doing, it's nearly 800 pages. We're going to have to cut it down a bit. It's too much. And he said, well, you shouldn't cut it down. And he said, anyway, we could we could write an 800-page volume on Gurudev's glories. for every day of his life. I said, okay, well, then the life story would never end, I said. But anyway, there's a few of his glories. So we have a paradigm at this point in time in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and the Gaudiya Vaishnava world at large, where people do not think, people think that they don't need a guru. And this is what Gurudev was up against. For instance, just to backtrack a bit, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he had to deal with the Sahajas. And there's a lot of groups of Sahajas, many. There's 13 main branches, but they have proliferated. They've split into many, 50, 60, 70 branches, more. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was dealing with the caste Goswamis and the Mayavadis. He was totally against the Mayavadis. His preaching against the Mayavadis was very powerful. And then Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada comes to the West, and he's dealing with the modern day atheists, the scientists, isn't it? That's what he was preaching against. One of the things he was preaching. But our Gurudev, he was preaching against those who thought they don't need a guru, they can initiate themselves, etc., etc., etc. And Gurudev spoke very heavily against this. So there are points here that Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada mentions, and I'll just read them just so we can know what he said and go through them. So A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he said, Guru is one, not two. Right. Then he said, Guru is one, Guru is unlimited. So there's a certain group of people that say, yes, there's only one Guru and he has unlimited good qualities. Right? Can only be one Guru. But that is not the correct understanding. That Guru is one, Guru is unlimited means Guru is one, but he comes in unlimited number of forms, His Divine Grace called Srila Prabhupada has said. And then he says hundreds of thousands of acharyas have come and gone, but they are one with the message. So the one, Guru is one, is the message. Unlimited is the number. Therefore, it is said, Guru is the principle, not the body. If we only have the body, we don't have the principle. If we don't have the principle, we don't have the understanding. If we don't have the understanding, we do not have the Guru principle, which is a sampradaya pranali of the Gaudiyas. And in the words of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the sampradaya is not the work of one man. It goes on by succession, and in that way, it is perfect. And that's what Gurudev is preaching. Gurudev is just preaching the words of his own Guru. He wasn't making things up. And they were thinking, oh, Guru Govinda Swami is saying something new. No, he's not saying something new. He's saying something very old. So when we first got to Bhubaneswar, when we first got there, there was Jagatpati Prabhu, Dinabandha Prabhu, and myself. There's a lot of Aryas, a lot of devotees from different mats, but not many Westerners. I think it was Gopi Kanta and I think Kamalananda, I think. And that was it. I knew Hari was there. So it narrowed down to just New Hari Prabhu, Dinabandha Prabhu, Jagatpati, and myself. So, and you most probably know all this, but I'm just going to go through it so you know. First thing Gurudev taught us was a Padavichar, Tadvichar. Padavichar means the apparent consideration. You water down the Siddhanta so much, there's no more milk, it's just water. Right? And Tadvichar means the absolute consideration. We're preaching the absolute consideration. In the words of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, if there's if someone's a thief, you have to say he's a thief, isn't it? And Gurudev explained to us that we are aspiring devotees, because everyone says, oh, I'm Vaishnava, I'm Vaishnava. Yeah, okay, you're Vaishnava. But what is that Vaishnava? Gurudev said, quoting Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, if the idea enters my mind that I'm a Vaishnava, a demon has entered into me. Right? Demon has entered into me. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself said, if I think I'm a Vaishnava, then I will not become humble. I'll become very proud. I will not be able to pay dandavats to everyone. I'll expect everyone to pay dandavats to me, I'll become proud and puffed up, and I will go to hell. Therefore, the Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Savatama Apanaki Hina Kalimani, that the great devotees, the great Paramahamsas, they think themselves very lowly. They think themselves very lowly. The more advanced one becomes, one thinks it's very lowly. But the Kanishtas, they think they're very great. Right. Then he spoke about the Acharya Leela of Mahaprabhu, which in 1989 threw me. It doesn't throw me now, we all know, but it totally threw me because, you think, well, Mahaprabhu's incarnation is golden avatar, etc., etc., etc. But he did Acharya Leela, and that is explained by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in the Chaitanya Bhagavatam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Nityananda Thakur, they came as they came as Jagat Guru Acharyas to deliver the fallen conditioned souls. Today, the crest jewel of the twice-born Brahmanas. And then he spoke about the foreign artists. Anyway, if there's time, I'm going to go through the 32 points that Gurudev spoke when we were there in Orissa for the first time in the beginning of 1989. So Gurudev was not a new man on the block. But when you hear the level of Siddhanta that Gurudev spoke, you can't, it's unparalleled. You can't match it. And there were many that were envious against Gurudev because they couldn't compete with him. It's not a race. It's not a competition. If there's a Mahabhagavat Paramahamsa speaking great, this wonderful Harikatha, you sit at his feet and listen. You don't try and get rid of him. There's no question of envy. Gurudev was not a new man on the block. All astrologers, all mystics, all psychics, those that knew them, Samudrika, they knew Gurudev was Mahabhagavat. Last time I spoke about what Srila Prabhupada said about Gurudev. Now I'm going to speak about what Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers said about Guru Maharaj. Right? There was a few still left on the planet. Srila Akinchana Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj. I'll just be brief. He said, Gauravinda Swami is a Mahabhagavat. Gauravinda Swami is in Krishna Leela, and he paid dandavats to him. And this Krishnadas Babaji, Srila Akinchana Krishnadas Babaji, he was the friend of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who said, and Prabhupada said, Krishnadas Babaji is a Kinchana and Paramahamsa. He has no faith in material acquisition, and he's a swan-like personality. And he said, Gauravinda Swami is Mahabhagavat, he's in Krishna Leela, and paid dandavats to him. I mean, that should be enough for anyone to understand that, Srila Gurudev Gauravinda Swami is on that very high level. Then there's Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, who was the, Prabhupada even said, Sridhar Maharaj is my Shiksha Guru. And there's so many glorifications of Sridhar Maharaj by Prabhupada. And he said, Gauravinda Swami is very high bar, very high bar, very high bar. Right, he's okay, he's very high bar, very high bar. Right. And then when Gurudev left, 3 ISKCON Guru Sannyasis, I don't know if they're still, I think most of them, they're not on the planet anymore even. Anyway, they went to Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, who was Guru Maharaj's friend actually. And he was the oldest living Vaishnava on the planet, I think, in our line. He was 99 years of age. And when they went there and they said, Gauravinda Swami left his body yesterday, Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj said, he said 3 times, Gauravinda Swami is Sadguru, Gauravinda Swami is Sadguru, is Sadguru. Sadguru means topmost spiritual master, most perfect spiritual master. Right, Dulabha Sadguru Devi. Sadguru is very rare, and Satsisha, even rarer, that rare type of disciple. So there's your 3 disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, godbrothers of Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the glorified Guru Maharaj. In fact, it is said in the Gaudiya Math that when the ISKCON devotees would go to see Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, he would say, is Gauravinda Swami there? I want to hear him speak about Krishna. They didn't say it about anyone else. So there's no question that any conditioned soul who is acting as a guru in some form or other can approach the level of Srila Govinda Swami, who's on Prema and very high bhav. Can't do it. And the 1979 event, Mayapur 1979 event, is enough to establish Gurudev as an Acharya, not just some guru in a mission, as the Acharya. You can't imitate those symptoms. If you go through everything everyone said that witnessed it and was interviewed, you can't imitate that. It's not possible. Not in a fit. No. You cannot imitate that. So this idea that we don't need a living guru, living sadhu, living Vaishnava, living Mahajan, if you take the living sadhu guru out of the equation, the Siddhanta will collapse. And there's a group of people that say, oh, Prabhupada never said living guru. That's right. He said physical guru many times, physical guru, physical guru. He said make guru concrete. And that's what Gurudev was speaking about. And A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada even said, so if you do not surrender to the living Bhagavata, you'll never understand the Grantha Bhagavata. Because the living Bhagavata, the Bhakta Bhagavata, explains the Grantha Bhagavata. Otherwise not possible. And that Bhakta Bhagavata is Krishna Kripa Patra, the agent of Krishna's mercy. Chaitanya Bhagavata says. Gurudev quoted that verse all the time, right? And you can't be the agent of Krishna's mercy unless you're empowered by the internal energy. And Gurudev said, Swarup Shakti Prishtapadika must be. If you're not empowered, how can you preach? What can you say? Chapters 15, 16, Java Dharma, read it. You know, it's as plain as the face, your own face. When you look in the mirror, you see your face, you read that, you'll understand it. Unless you're Swarup Shakti Prishtapadika, you cannot, you're not empowered how you preach that deep eternal Siddhanta of the Gaudiyas. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in the Java Dharma, if you do not get the mercy of the Swarup Shakti, you'll never get Sudanam, which is the pure name, which is the goal, and you'll never get Swarup Siddhi. You never understand your eternal form. And that Swarup Shakti comes by the way of the empowered Sadhu Vaishnava. And Gurudev was that, Srila Govinda Swami was that living guru. There's no doubt in my mind. And as I said, all the astrologers that met him, mystics, psychics, those that used to Mudrika, they knew this is Mahabhagavad. He's got all the symptoms on his body. That's why he could say, go to the temple, pay dandavats, clap your hands 3 times, pay your obeisance, come back on this shade, go back to France, and you'll have twins. That's why he could read people's minds and answer the question before they could even get it to the physical platform, to the the words coming out of their mouth could not form, and he'd already given the answer. He was light years ahead with the Siddhanta, and that is the test of the true sadhu. Not just, you can be a Sanskrit scholar, you can know Sanskrit, you can know all the Sandarbhas of Jiva Goswami, the Tattva Sandarbha, Bhagavad Sandarbha, Paramatma Sandarbha, Krishna Sandarbha, Bhakti Sandarbha, Priti Sandarbha. You can know them off parrot fashion. A big Pandit still cannot understand one inkling of the Gaudiya Siddhanta if you've not heard it from a pure Vaishnava sadhu. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has written, I can send you the quotes. He said the sadhu, the Pandit might quote the book, the chapter, the page number, the paragraph, the line, the verse, etc. He's still wrong. And the sadhu may misquote, he's right. Because the sadhu is Krishna in his heart. And the sadhu is prompting. Now, I'm going to say something here that some people might get a bit offended with. Well, not offended, but surprised.
Please, Prabhu.
But Gurudev's wife told this story. In a village where they live, there was one woman, and she passed away. Right? And she had many children. You may know the story. Anyway, that woman took poison. And she had many children, and the husband was wondering what to do. I've got all these children, and the wife has passed away. So Gurudev, he was in conversation with someone, and he brought that woman back to life. Believe it or not, there were witnesses. You can't do that as a conditioned soul. So someone once said to me, well, what's your definition of a guru? I said, well, my definition of a guru is this. There's a story of Sarangatako. Does everyone know who Sarangatako is? Or Sangatako. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada writes about him. He was a great Mahabhagavat. And from in the heart, the Supreme Lord was prompting him. You should initiate, but he didn't want to. And that is a symptom of a great sadhu. He can't push himself forward. And Gurudev was like, he couldn't push himself forward, couldn't glorify himself. He just couldn't do it. So one morning, that Saranga Thakur, he woke up and he said, okay, today, the first person I see, I'll initiate. So he went down to the river to take bath. And there's a dead body floating by. He touched it with his foot, and that body came alive, and he initiated that person. As Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada says, that was the beginning of his Sampradaya line. So I said to someone, that's my definition of guru. And the person said, oh, too harsh. Unrealistic. But that's a guru. He can do anything, you know. He may not do everything because, you know, foolish disciples will see that and try and copy it. So the guru keeps himself a little hidden. But of course, we shouldn't hide the guru, because Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written in his Sri Sajjana Toshni, no part of the pure devotee should be hidden, because it's all too auspicious. Because that's the only way our anatas will leave. Seeing him, associating with him, him speaking to us speaking to him, paying dandavats, asking him questions, him giving the answers, serving him, taking his remnants, etc. Isn't it? So I think it was 1983. Sorry, 1993. Gurudev went to Europe. 93, yeah. And one of Gurudev's sannyasi godbrothers said to him, why have you come? Right? Why have you come? Because, you know, Guru Maharaj was considered old. He had a walking stick. He held onto the servant's hand and he shuffled along. Right? And Gurudev said, I've come for 3 reasons. One, I want to preach to the preachers. You know, everyone knows this, right? Prabhuji, you know this? So Gurudev said, I want to preach to the preachers. Now, the Ritviks get very upset when they heard Gurudev say that. They said, oh, we're Prabhupada disciples. We've read the books. We know the philosophy. What can you preach, Baba? Can you affect people's hearts? You see, big buildings, money in the bank, and lots of followers does not constitute bhakti. Bhakti is considered, is developed by the harikatha of great personalities, and the heart becomes softened. So number 1, preach to the preachers. Number 2, show that everything is in Prabhupada's books. And no one could do that better than Gurudev. Actually, when Gurudev came to Australia, they were so shocked with him. The Australian leaders, they were saying, oh, he's saying things different to Prabhupada. He wasn't saying things different. They didn't know what was in the books. Right? They didn't know it. So he said he wanted to show how everything was in Prabhupada's books. And to do this, he used information from many acharyas. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, Srila Baladev Vidyapisan, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Narottam Das Thakur, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, etc. He spoke from the books of Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, of course, from Vyas, to prove that everything Prabhupada said was coming from an acharya, and everything Guru Maharaj said was coming from an acharya or the Shastra. And number 3, he said he wanted to show how all the tattvas are in ISKCON. And no offense to anyone, there was no one, to my best knowledge, there was no one that could do that. He was so powerful. He was so powerful that he scared people. I know one guy in Perth, one fellow, so big devotee, big Madanga player, singer. Gurudev came, he ran away. He ran away. And the temple president hid. I mean, what's the value of it? You know, the sadhus come, sit at his feet. That's what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said. And I quoted that last time. Say it again. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, the only access I have to reality is that which what I have heard sitting at the lotus feet of my spiritual master. So I said it before, I'll say it again. If there's no Tattvacharya, then who will present the tattvas in full? Conditioned souls. Even A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada says, conditioned and medium can initiate, but one cannot advance very far under their insufficient guidance. So if one is a Kanishta and he allows himself to be worshipped as Amar Bhagavat, in the words of many acharyas, including A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, including our Gurudev, he's going to fall down. And Gurudev says so many gurus fall down. Why do they fall down? Because they've not established a relationship with Krishna, they've established a relationship with Maya. So if there's no Tattvacharya, who will present the tattvas in full? So in 1989, right? In 1989, Jagatpati Prabhu, Dinabandhu Prabhu, and myself were in Bhubaneswar, and Gurudev spoke on these are 32 points I've got here. Right. There's 32 points he spoke on. Gurudev spoke on so many things, but this is just to mention a few. First was Guru Tattva, the truth of spiritual master. Now, someone said to me once, someone said, oh, Tattva Vichar publications, they're just guru. And I thought, yeah, he's got it. That's right. That's what we're about. Guru, because you don't have a bona fide guru, Baba. So you don't know, right? You don't have a guru, so you need guru. So guru is for you. So first thing he spoke about was Guru Tattva, the truth of spiritual master. And if we look through the Siddhanta, we'll see that in the book, the Sri Gaudiya Kantahara by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the first chapter is Guru Tattva, and he's quotes 66 verses on the Guru. In the Hari Bhakti Vilas by Srila Sanatana Goswami, first Vilas and second Vilas. First Vilas is 235 verses on Guru, and the second Vilas is 253 verses on Guru. And then the fourth chapter is also about Guru, all about Guru. In the book Sri Krishna Bhajanamrita by Srila Narahari Thakur Sakada, who's the 40th branch of the Chaitanya tree, who's the spiritual master of Srila Lokchan Das Thakur, who wrote the Sri Chaitanya Mangala. He's a close associate of Mahaprabhu. First chapter of his book and fourth chapter, all about Guru, and especially what to do with the bogus Guru or the fallen Guru, how to reject him. And the first chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 1 is the spiritual masters, is Mangala Charana, and Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains it all. It's all about Guru. And there's a thread about Guru throughout the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita, believe it or not. Second was the Tattva Vichar. Then he quoted Bhagavat Tattva, the book Bhagavata and the devotee Bhagavata. No one was quoting that. Now, in the first canto, I think second chapter, 18th verse, Srila Prabhupada goes through the whole thing of the book Bhagavata and the Grantha Bhagavata. And as I quoted previously, Srila Prabhupada said, if one does not surrender unto the living Bhagavata, he'll never understand the book Bhagavata. So the book Bhagavata is the Shastra, Srimad Bhagavatam, etc. But the devotee Bhagavata is the living, breathing, walking, talking, speaking Bhakta, devotee. Right? His whole body permeates with the Siddhanta. And Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur has said that pure devotee, that Bhakta Bhagavata, who is Krishna Kripa Patra, agent of Krishna's mercy, and Bhakti Ras Patra, absorbed in Bhakti Ras, the deep mellows of Bhakti, he has prema exuding through every pore of his body, and prema coursing through every vein in his body. His whole body exudes prema. Chit dipana is totally glowing. And that's what we saw when we first saw Guru Maharaj. He was totally glowing. Then he spoke about Gora Tattva, Mahaprabhu, Radha Tattva, about Radha. He was saying things in one lecture. I don't remember it, but Jagapati Guru says, you must speak Radha Tattva. Then he saw us. He said, what are you all doing here? This is not for you. Something like that. And then he laughed and kept speaking. But he spoke on desiring to understand the glory of Radharani's love, the green and the yellow mango, who can give me pleasure, and the enchantress of Govinda, all about Srimati Radhika. Then he spoke about Prasanga Rupa Seva, hearing from the spiritual master. The Guru is there, and you are there, and you are hearing that powerful Harikatha. And then Paricharya Rupa Seva, serving the needs of the body of the spiritual master. Samasti Guru, we all know it, but Sri Nityananda Prabhu, sum total of all gurus. Vyasti Guru, all individual gurus. Vyasti are representatives of Sri Nityananda. He spoke about all these things. Sadhu Guru, the need to associate with real sadhus. Just like Nikita, it says, Kamendriyani Samyamya Astamana Sasmaran, India Tamiguratma, Mityacha Suchite. Might look like a sadhu, might speak like a sadhu, but internally he's just thinking about sense gratification or the objects of the senses. He's a cheater. Just a cheater, and there's many of these cheaters. He spoke about the ongoing flow of the Sampradaya Pranali, the Sampradaya Rakshana, the two occupations of the Acharya. What are they? Sampradaya Rakshana and Siddhanta Rakshana, the protector of the Siddhanta and the protector of the Sampradaya. How do you protect the Sampradaya? With big buildings, money in the bank, or lots of followers, with the Harikatha, which is the nourishment for the living entity. That is the nourishment. This is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He spoke about Maya Das and Maya Dasi. Maya Das and Maya Dasi want to become Krishna Das and Krishna Dasi. To do that, they will have to go to the ashram of the Guru and become Guru Das and Guru Dasi. And Mahaprabhu did that. Chapter 17 of the Adi Kanda, the Chaitanya Bhagavata. He went to the ashram of Ishwar Puri, Paint Dadabats, and asked for initiation. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada says that's the example for all time, all place, and all circumstance for everyone. And we think we don't need a guru. It's all madness. And this is Kali Yuga, world of madness. Then he spoke about the four anarthas, Tattva Brahm, Ridda, Dubalyam, Asat Krishna, and Aparad. We all know that. And then he spoke about Sevika Bhagavan and Sevya Bhagavan. Sevika Bhagavan is Supreme Personality of God, is to be served, and Sevika Bhagavan, Sevya Bhagavan is the Guru, Supreme Personality devotee, who assists and teaches us how to serve the Supreme Lord. We never heard this in our life. Then he spoke from Shraddha to Prema, which is the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Srila Rupa Goswami goes from Shraddha, Adoshada Tata Sadasanga Bhajana Kriya, Anatana Viti, Nishta Ruchi, Shakti Bhav, and finally Prem. Then he spoke from the Ujjvala Nilamani by Srila Rupa Goswami, illuminating Prem and to Madanakya Mahabhav. Prema, Sneha, Mana, Pranaya, Rag, Anurag, Bhav, Mahabhav, Ruda Mahabhav, Adi Ruda Mahabhav, Madanakya, and Madanakya Mahabhav. And Madanakya Mahabhav is the mood of Srimati Radhika, and that's the mood that Mahaprabhu came in. Gurudev was the only one I'd ever heard explaining this. And therefore in the Chaitanya Charitamrita it says, Radha Bhava Jyotish Savalitam. Mahaprabhu came, Krishna came in the mood and complexion of Srimati Radhika as Mahaprabhu to understand himself. The Vishaya wanted to understand the Ashraya. And Gurudev spoke about Priti Ashraya, Priti Vishaya, Priti Dhamma. Priti Ashraya is the boat of love, which is all gopis headed by Srimati Radhika. The Priti Vishaya, the object of love, which is Sri Krishna. And Priti Dhamma, love and affection for one and all, which is the mood and process of Mahaprabhu. But Gurudev said you cannot get that unless you have love and affection for Sri Krishna. Then you'll have love and affection for one and all. In fact, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he makes a point. He says, unless you can see the suffering of others, you cannot preach. You have to see that people, at minimum, people are suffering. And he spoke about Sambandha, Abhidaya, Prayojana, right? Veda Tri, Tattva Koi, the three transcendental truths. And Gurudev said, if you can understand them, you become very happy. Everyone wants to be happy in this world. That's the answer. Sambandha Bidaya Prajna. I'm not going into detail. I'm just saying what he spoke about. Then he spoke about Mantra Datta Guru. Mantra Datta Guru means Guru selling mantras. You can be my disciple, I'll sell you a mantra. And he said his own Guru never did that. His Guru, Srila Prabhupada, was Krishna Datta Guru, gave Krishna, and Ashraya Datta Guru. He gave shelter. That's real sadhu. Gives you Krishna, gives you shelter. Then he spoke about Mahaprabhu's Acharya Leela, which we discussed. And then the three internal reasons why Sri Krishna appeared as Mahaprabhu. And everyone had read that verse, but Gurudev brought it alive. I remember I did the interview with Janardhan, and he gave me a lot of information, but he said every verse came alive when Gurudev spoke. That's the symptom of a true sadhu, a true Vaishnava, true Mahajan, true Acharya. Right. He brings that verse to life. So the three internal reasons why Mahaprabhu Krishna appeared as Mahaprabhu, designed to understand the glory of Radharani's love, the wonderful qualities in him that she alone relishes through that love, and the happiness she feels when she realizes the sweetness of his love. Mahaprabhu appeared. Very important. There's the external reasons, Yuga Avatar, calling of Acharya, the Sankirtan moving, spreading prema through the Sankirtan movement, but they're all external. The internal, the antaranga, are those three. And of course, he gave that class, Radha Prem Makes Krishna Mad. Brilliant class. Gurudev goes through the points of what a madman does, and then he goes through all the points what Krishna does when he goes to meet Radharani. And Gurudev says, isn't Krishna a madman? Anyway, and then the goal, how the goal is to develop prema. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Purushata Surmani Prema Mahadana. The goal is prema. There's no other goal. And he spoke about Srimati Radharani as the Guru of Krishna. Where does it go? Radhikara Prema Guru Ami Sishanata. Krishna says, Radharani is my Guru. So some people say, well, we don't need all that deep Siddhanta. We just need the four regulated principles, chant Hare Krishna, and jump up and down the kirtan, Haribol, and that's it. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada has written that book, Prakrita Rasa Satadusini. And in it he says, Siddhanta alasa jana anata tolcharina. If one is lazy, idle, or lax with Siddhanta, you'll never become free from anatas. And he said you can stay in anatta really for hundreds of lifetimes. And I'll say it again, it's the duty of the Guru to present all this, and Gurudev was presenting it. I've lost everyone here. What's going on? Oh, here we are. And Gurudev was presenting all this. So there's no Tattvacharya, right? If there's no living sadhu, the Siddhanta will collapse. Believe it or not. And you can see how it gets watered down. And just like when Gurudev was asked, Gurudev said, why are you trying to deliver others when you have not delivered yourself? And when I said this last time, but I'll say it again. And Gurudev said, when he was told that is that some of the gurus are saying that, you know, it's Kali Yuga, so you don't have to follow all the principles, etc., etc. And Gurudev said, yeah, that's right. Therefore I say Kali Yuga Guru, Kali Yuga disciple. And then they said, well, they're saying that when the Guru falls down, it's Leela. And Gurudev said, yeah, it's Leela. It's stool eating Leela. Bas. It's not the Leela of Krishna. It's not the Leela of Mahaprabhu. It's not Gaura Kirtan. It's not Krishna Kirtan. It's Maya Kirtan. It's the Leela of Maya. So the business of the sadhu, the business of the Vaishnava, business of the Acharya is to deliver the disciples or bring them to that position whereby which they understand there is a long way to go. There is no magic wand. Right? There's no magic wand. So last time I spoke about that Gurudev did not join a temple, he joined a construction site at Ramaredi. So I just want to talk about a few of the points. Is that okay? Some of the things that were happening before Gurudev got there. Is that all right? Prabhuji? Yeah? So Gurudev saw the sign, International Society of Krishna Consciousness. And he said what got him was international. That sparked his interest. Oh, international, okay. And then he saw all the devotees with shaved heads, Sika, neck beads, Kurta, Dodi, saffron. He thought, gee, it looks very nice. Then he walked in. A devotee gave him a back to Godhead. He read Prabhupada's article. And in that article, Prabhupada talked about Krishna, Mahaprabhu, and the Bhagavatam. And Gurudev said that's what he was looking for. Those three things, Mahaprabhu, Krishna, and Bhagavatam. So prior to being on the land in Ramaredi, the devotees lived at the Radha Damodar temple. I did an interview with Ganadhara and he gave me all this information prior to Gurudev being there, and then Gurudev being there, of course. So they lived at the Radha Damodar temple, and they would do kirtan to the ISKCON land, the Ramaredi land in Vrindavan every day, and then they'd get to the land, pay dandavats, chant the Premadrandi, Jayam, Vishnupad, Paramahansa, Parivraj, Jaya, etc. And then they'd walk back chanting japa, but nothing was happening on the land. Nothing was being built. So someone had the idea to build huts and move on the land. And then the construction started. And one devotee came, his name was Surab, he was an architect or something, and he started drawing the plans and everything, and things started to move. Until then, nothing was happening. So when Guru Maharaj got there, there was just the house and the slab or the foundation for the temple. So in that area, there was 15 to 20 of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers, Grihastas, Brahmacharis, Vanaprasthas, Sannyasis. And he said, Ganadhara said to me that you would see Prabhupada just walking down the street, that main road, with his godbrothers just chanting and talking to each other. That was a regular occurrence. And then some of them would come and they'd have kirtan with him in his house. And Prabhupada would say, go get my godbrother that plays Madanga. And they'd go off and get him and bring him, and he'd come with his Madanga, and they'd have kirtan. So, and Ganadhara said in those days, and I don't want to be offensive, I'm not trying to be offensive to anyone, I don't want to offend anyone, but he said there was no Gaudiya Math ISKCON thing, us and them. He said they used to come to us for programs and we used to go for them. But he said the programs on the land were just on the sand. There was no temple, there was no nothing. So they had kirtan on the sand, right? And the Nam Hutta would come from Japan, and they would have these wild kirtans for 2 or 3 hours, right on the Ramaredi sand. That sand's not there anymore. It was very fine dust. It's not there anymore because it's all concrete and bitumen. But previous to the concrete and the bitumen, you could go along the old cowherd boy trails, and they'd take you along there. Anyway, Ganadhara said he had a gold nugget, and Prabhupada said to him, sell the gold nugget and build a goshala. Because if my disciples drink milk, they'll become very strong. So he did that. So that's how the Goshala started. And Gurudev walked onto this property, he walked into this scene, and Ganadhara said, we were all out of it, right? We were out of it, people eating meat, taking drugs, but we saw your Guru Maharaj was a cultured Vaishnav gentleman. And he said he became a main part of the mission of Srila Prabhupada. So that's just a bit of background information. So Gurudev took sannyas finally from Prabhupada, right? Guru Maharaj didn't want to get married. And you most probably all know that, but he didn't want to get married. But his mother was, his cousin, Dobani Devgiri, she told me, his mother was always crying, why is he not married? Why is he not married? Why is he not married? So the uncle came, Gopinath Giri, and Guru Maharaj respected him very much. And Guru Maharaj said his 2 uncles were pure devotees. They were kirtanias and great devotees. And he spoke to him and he said, you have to get married. So on the word of his uncle, he got married. He didn't want to. No offense to Gurudev's wife from his previous ashram, no offense to his children, but he didn't want to get married. He wanted, his 2 things were take sannyas and preach the mission of Mahaprabhu. That's what he wanted to do. And he wanted to find a suitable person that could give him sannyas and then he could preach the mission of Mahaprabhu. So he first tried to renounce family life in 1969 in front of the deities with his brother, Kripa Sindhumani, but his brother wouldn't do it. Said he wouldn't do it. So on the 1st of April 1974, Gurudev was in Gadagiri for Ram Navami, and he said he heard an aerial voice, and that aerial voice said, "You have to go to the forest now. You must leave family life now. You must take sannyas." And Gurudev left family life. And his brother took the family, took care of the whole family. So Gurudev, when he first met Prabhupada, he walked in and paid dandavats, and before he could even get up, as you most probably already know, Prabhupada said to him, "Have you taken sannyas?" And Guru Maharaj said, "No." And Prabhupada said, "Well, if you stay here, I'll give you sannyas." Right. So in 1975, I think it was, early 75, Guru Maharaj was in, I think, Hyderabad temple. And Srila Prabhupada explained to him what sannyas was. And he says, sannyas means no thinking of sex life, no arranging for sex life. And he said to Guru Maharaj, "Do you understand?" And Guru Maharaj said, "I understand." Prabhupada said, "Okay, let's take prasadam." Prabhupada told him, "Come to Raman Reddy, come to Vrindavan for the opening, and I'll give you sannyas." At that time, 1975, I had an interview with Hari Soy, and he said he was surprised that Prabhupada gave sannyas because there was a moratorium on sannyas, because a lot of sannyasis were falling down, you know. Yeah, they were falling down, so what to do? So there was a moratorium. And suddenly, there was two people to take sannyas, Tripurari Das, he was Tripurari Das there, became Tripurari Swami, and then the second person to stand up was Guru Maharaj. No one even knew who he was. And Gurudev stood up, and everyone was very surprised. And I did a big interview with Rida Das and with Sudhadredi Maharaj, who was there, Jantakrit, and they both said when Guru Maharaj took sannyas, when he stood up, before he actually got the cloth and everything, he gave a 20-minute talk on the glories of the Guru. And Rida said he was sitting right next to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada had a tear in his eye. Prabhupada looked at him and said, "This is how you glorify the Guru." So after Gurudev took sannyas, all the big GBCs and sannyasis, they all complained to Prabhupada and said, "How is he taking sannyas? He's a new man." Because he took initiation, Harinam after 2 weeks, Brahman after 2 weeks, and after a few months, sannyas. And Prabhupada turned to them, and there's witnesses for this, and Prabhupada turned to them and said, "You're all new men. Here's devotee from his birth." Right? Here's devotee from his birth. It changed the whole paradigm, right? The whole situation changed. Because Prabhupada said, "You're a new man. Here's devotee from his birth." So in the time of Gurudev, when he was on the GBC, these glasses. There was one sannyasi, I think he's American, he was in Spain, he fell down, he was going to prostitutes, he was fallen, finished, and he was caught. So he wouldn't go into white, so he went into saffron, brahmachari cloth, right? And he was doing menial service and just trying to keep a low profile. So after a while, that sannyasi, he wanted to take sannyas again, right? Because he felt he was doing okay and this and that. So there was a discussion at the GBC level about this sannyasi. And then they turned to Gurudev and they said, "Maharaj, what do you think?" And Gurudev said, "Well, you have to understand, Gurudev knew the Siddhanta backwards, forwards, in the middle, front, back, everything. In all directions, he knew the Siddhanta. He knew what Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, he knew what Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur did. He knew the whole thing. He studied the works of Ramanujacharya about sannyas. He'd done so many things. So when he gave this answer, he said, in the time of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, there was one sannyasi And Grimace told me this personally as his secretary, after the 1994, I think, Mayapur meetings, and he said there was one sannyasi, disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he'd gone away, he'd left sannyas ashram, but he wanted to come back. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada said, you can come back, but you cannot be a sannyasi again. Now, if you read in the Sri, what is it? I forget the book. Sri Sajanatoshini by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he writes that if you fall down from sannyas, you're in no way ever in the Varnashram system anymore. It's very serious. Anyway, so Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada said, you can come back, but you can't be a sannyasi. You can be like a brahmachari with the fold at the back, bus, but you can't be a sannyasi. So that sannyasi said, okay. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said there are terms and conditions. You will have to sit at the gate of the temple and wash the feet of the pilgrims that come through. And that ex-sannyasi said, okay. And he said, this should be done for a period of 6 months. And that sannyasi said, no problems. And then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada said, but the feet of the pilgrims must be washed with your tears of repentance. So Gurudev said, I told this to my godbrothers. And Gurudev said, you know what they said? He said, too harsh, Swami, too harsh. But anyway, that was Gurudev's understanding of sannyas. It's very serious. You can't fall down from it. You must understand the situation. Therefore, when the Acharya from Sri Rangam came up, Gurudev wanted to go down to Sri Rangam, and he wanted to get all the information that Ramanujacharya had given on sannyas, put it in a book and give it to his sannyasi godbrothers, so at least they have this shastra and an intellectual understanding of how serious sannyas is, right? Otherwise not. So Gurudev is very serious in your Siddhanta, etc. So then the next point I want to talk about is Lagudi Prabhu, because Lagudi Prabhu's preaching about Gurudev was massive. I mean, everyone he spoke to was just about Gurudev, and it was about the 1979 Mayapur event. It was a massive revelation for him. He'd been there, seen the whole thing. He was Gurudev's servant. He was staying in the room with him. And the way Lagudi speaks about this incident is pretty amazing. From 1981 in Australia, all he was preaching was Gurudev and what Gurudev did, etc., etc., etc. So this 1979 event, Gurudev had been ill, supposedly in Bhubaneswar for about a month, and Lagudi was looking after him. Then he came to Mayapur, and he was still ill. And it went on for about 3 or 4 months. So what they did was they got an exorcist from Navadvip to come and check Gurudev out. And the exorcist came and he said, no ghosts here, nothing, right? Nothing. And numerous doctors came and they said, there's nothing wrong with him. Right? Then they took Gurudev to Sri Narayan Ramanuja Das, who was an Ayurvedic doctor, mystic in the Sri Sampradaya. And he checked him out, and he'd seen this before. And he said, well, if Krishna doesn't take him, if he does not disappear, you will see he will become a great rishi, a great sadhu, a great acharya, if Krishna doesn't take him through this event. And then Srila Akinchana Krishnadas Babaji came. And at one point, it seems they thought Gurudev was not conscious or dead. So Krishnadas Babaji, he got a cotton from his dhoti, put it under Gurudev's nose, and it moved. He said, "Oh, he's still breathing." He said, "Yeah." He laughed. Yeah. Bhava, prema. He's a great devotee. Don't worry about it. These are just symptoms of bhava, symptoms of prema. And as I said, this Kinshana Krishnadas Babaji, he was actually very excited that Prabhupada had one disciple who was a Ma Bhagavat. He was very happy, Lagudi said. And as I said, he said, Gorgavita says Ma Bhagavat, is it Krishna Lila, and paid dandavats to him. Then they took him to a Ratnagarbha Maharaj, who was a Gaudiya Math sannyasi who dealt in herbs. And he did his diagnosis by rubbing herbs all over the body. And from that, he got diagnosis. And this Ratnagarbha Maharaj, he said, technically there's nothing wrong with him, but the spiritual emotion is too high. Don't take him near any big kirtans. Keep him away from the Ganges, the Yamuna, places like this. Keep him away from these places. So, and then Lagudi said many things, and he said, when Guru Maharaj came out of the whole thing, at one point, his body was changing, going from very dark to very light, right? Light, dark, right? And then Lagudi said the body started changing different colours. And Rupa Goswami speaks about those colours in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And Gurudev's body was going red. And Rupa Goswami says in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, you very rarely see that red colour on the pure devotee. It's very, only highly advanced devotees get that red colour in their body, right? With these ecstatic symptoms. So it was a very amazing event, but no one could understand it. And they sort of kept Guru Maharaj locked in the room, but what could you do? Anyway, so it was very amazing event, and that stuck with Lagudi for a long time. And many other things happened, and you can read it in Mayapur 1979, the book we put out. Read it in the volume 1 of the life story, but it is not normal. You won't read about all those symptoms or you may, but you may not read about or know about that happening to someone you know. Not to speak of us. And you have the audacity to criticise Govinda Swami. I'm sorry, but we don't accept you, any of that nonsense. So anyway, I'm going to cover this again, then I'm going to stop. And last time I spoke about the Acharya from Sri Rangam. And that Acharya was Sri Lakshman Ramanuja Jia Acharya Dev. He was the Acharya of Sri Rangam. He considered Gurudev a great Maha Bhagavat. He said, very rare in this world. He said he was Shakti Vaishyavatar, come with a mission. And we know what his mission was: preach to the preachers, show that everything was in Prabhupada's books, show that all the tattvas were in ISKCON. So, Prabhuji, shall I stop? Prabhuji, shall I stop?
Prabhu, maybe devotees can ask some question if you want to answer, or if you are not late.
I'm not very good with questions, but I'll give it a go.
So if devotees have some questions, they can ask.
Actually, I've just got one more thing I want to say.
Yes. Yes, Prabhu.
I won't say it. No, if someone's got a question, I'll attempt to answer it. If they've got a question.
So, Prabhu, you are not coming to Bhubaneswar for a long time.
That's not a question. Yeah, I know. Well, I said it last time, but it's just that we got, what am I doing? We deal with 3 printers in Delhi. The books go to Vrindavan. I got 2 warehouses there, and I got 2 boys looking after it, but we go there, and there's a lot of devotees in Bhubaneswar distributing in Mayapur, distributing in Orissa, distributing everywhere. And we deal with that end. And yeah, we don't really get there. We go to Vrindavan because a lot of Westerners, and we print in English. So they're all there. And we try to, we have plans to come, but I just don't know when. Maybe this year, maybe for, I don't know, Vyas Puja or something. I don't know.
Yes, if you can come for many years, no devotees never saw you here in Bhubaneswar. So if you can come once.
Yeah, I'm very sinful. You'll have to forgive me. Nimai said, and one guy said, Nimai Pandit is dull-headed fellow. So I'm pretty dull. So you'll have to forgive me, Okay.
And how is it that if you can just tell something about how Gurudev instruct you to do his biography?
Hang on, say that again.
I heard that you got instruction from Gurudev to write his biography after he left this world.
No. We were going to write it before he left. But in 1991, there was a GBC Executive Committee meeting, and they said to Gurudev, you cannot print your life story. And, well, he wasn't going to print it. Excuse me, just. They said, we hear your disciples are collecting information about your life story. Nothing can be printed until you leave your body. So Gurudev called me into his room and he said, that's what they said. And I said, can I keep collecting information? He said, yeah, keep doing interviews, keep collecting information, but we can't print anything until I leave. I said, okay. Because if we'd have printed something before he left, a lot of people would have got a lot of information about Gurudev. But anyway, we didn't. So the GBC Executive Committee stopped Gurudev's biography coming out before he left. I couldn't do anything about it.
Okay.
Right. I'm just going to say this one thing. Yeah. At birth, the astrologer said the Gurudev was from that world, not this world. In 1971, Gurudev went to the Himalayas, or foothills of the Himalayas, Haridwar, Rishikesh, with his friend Fakir Charan Kanango, right? And another sadhu met them, and he looked at Gurudev, and just looking at him, he gave his whole life. And he said, at the end of his life, he will return back to his eternal abode. Where is it from? That world, right? And that Srila Bhakti Puri Goswami Maharaj, he said, when Gurudev, the way Gurudev left, he said, no one has left their body like this in the Gaudiya line. Not even Mahaprabhu did that. And he says, I doubt in the future anyone will do it either, because Gurudev spoke 1.5 hours on why Mahaprabhu stayed in Puri and then lay down on his bed and said, do kirtan. I mean, who's done that? No one's done that. And that's what he said. No one's done that. He said, so it was the way he left was amazing too. He was born a Gaudiya Vaishnava. He left this world a Gaudiya Vaishnava. He was born a pure devotee, the astrologer saw it, and he left this world a pure devotee. You can't mimic that. You can't copy that. You can't, nothing. And his body, there was no rigor mortis. His body glowed and gave off a nice fragrance. And there's so many witnesses to that. So, you know, then that's a symbolism of Mama. Same with A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Prabhupada. Body glowed, gave off a nice fragrance, no rigor mortis. That's symbolism of Mama Bhagavad, isn't it? It's not a conditioned soul. Within 1 to 2 hours, the body goes stiff as a board. Finished. Rock hard, and then it decays, and then it stinks. There was no rigor mortis, no bad fragrance, and the body glowed. And they want to criticize Gurudev. Yeah. Because they're actually, this is Kali Yuga, and people are very less intelligent and very envious, and they'll do anything. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about that in his introduction to the Sri Krishna Samhita, what the Kanishta won't do. Fighting, arguing, kicking, punching, you know, whatever. They'll do anything. So we'll stop there, Prabhuji. We good?
Yes, Prabhu, we can stop for today. It's a late night at your place. So maybe once again, we hope that sometimes you can again have your association to us. Give your
Well,
association with us.
you just contact me and tell me what you want me to do. You're the boss. I'm nothing here.
No, no, no problem. If you have some more things to share, then sometimes you can just let us know and we can arrange another meeting.
Okay, it's up to you. Okay?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay,
Thank you.
Pandit.
Thanks a lot, Prabhu. This is really very helpful for us. And soon we will bring more Gurudev's pastimes based on your sharing.
Yeah, well, Gudo's very amazing. There's so many stories. So many things. There's so many things about Gudo. Okay, धन्यवाद स्पंज कैपिटल विशाख हरि बोलो
Thank you, Prabhu.